George.
Hi, I'm Anna.
And if I were to describe myself as a student in one word specifically, it would be mistreated.
And the first thing that comes to mind when I hear gym class is upsetting.
Welcome to Gym Shorts, a podcast by Ophea. We're a Canadian charity that prioritizes student health, well-being, and belonging in classrooms, schools, and communities. For over 100 years, we've been working to make gym class every student's favorite part of their day. Through this podcast, we explore the powerful and personal stories behind our earliest experiences with health and physical education. In each episode, we speak with guests about experiences from school that shaped their future relationship with physical activity and well-being. These stories offer honest reflections on how our past informs the present and how we can all work together to create happier, healthier, and more inclusive futures for all students. Now, let's get into today's story. Hi, I'm Tammy Shubat, Chief Strategy Officer at Ophea. Before we begin, a quick note. I did want to mention that in this episode, we will be speaking with two young people who are currently in high school. They are twins, George and Anna, who are sharing their experience in gym class. Their identities have been protected, and we recorded this episode in close consultation with their parents. I also want to share, with his approval, that George is on the autism spectrum, and I'm sharing this information to help contextualize some of his reflections throughout the episode. This episode may contain discussions about bullying or other negative school experiences that may be upsetting or triggering for some listeners. We encourage you to take care while listening and pause if you need to. With this in mind, let's begin today's conversation. Meet George and Anna, two students who typically enjoy school and try to put their best foot forward.
Generally speaking, I am a very enthusiastic and, I hope, inclusive and very silly student.
I take my education very seriously, and I try my best to take notes of important information in class.
When it came to being in the gym, Anna remembers things starting out with fun at the forefront of all activities.
I remember having a lot of fun because it was more play-based and just really more, they wanted you to have fun. They were a silly teacher, and every Friday they'd let you do whatever you wanted.
However, starting in grade 2, both George and Anna started to have a different experience.
From grade 2, when my gym teacher was first introduced to me, he made us have the expectations of grade 8s.
It became more, you had to be good at things. You had to know what you were doing without any pre-knowledge of it. And it just felt like I was falling behind because I'm not a very sporty kid.
And I don't want to be in a class where you're always expected to be a certain way, and that you have to be better at running, better at throwing.
I got really anxious about going to gym, and I didn't really want to go all of a sudden. Just everything in gym felt like this challenge that was just going to be annoying and I wouldn't do good at.
For George, the gym began to feel like an unsafe space. Unfortunately, he felt he had few people to turn to for support.
I felt like I was in danger about half the time. It started with I'd nearly get hit in basketball whenever I moved to a different area. I'd still get hit because people were throwing it all over the place, and sometimes I wouldn't be ready to catch the ball, and they'd slam the ball into my chest as hard as they could. And then it got worse when apparently I wasn't moving enough, and I got hit in the face really hard. My face started swelling. The gym teacher, instead of being oh, are you okay? It was you should have moved around more. And then all the boys in my class were like nodding in unison.
When others didn't help, Anna felt the need to step in.
I felt like I had to almost watch George every second of the day to make sure that they wouldn't be getting hurt because nothing was happening. The gym teacher would also do things like, I had a friend who was non-binary and kept on doing things like sectioning things off boys and girls, and then my friend would just have to sit out because they never said anything.
Even though they are attending a new high school, the memories of their challenging phys ed experience remain.
I have to take gym because I need it for a credit. You can take it any of the 4 years. I chose to get it over with because I just want it to be over.
Luckily, Anna and George remain active and have found a community in their karate class where they are encouraged to learn at their own pace.
As George mentioned, I am enrolled in karate, and I have a lot of fun with that.
They encourage me to try my hardest without pressure, and I started out with before I joined the whole class and all the moves, I took everything slow to learn them.
In karate, you can take your time. You're working towards something, so it feels like you're actually accomplishing something as well. But also, some people take 3 months to earn the next belt. Some people take a year or 6 months. But you can just take your time, and it's fine. It doesn't matter.
I ended up practicing enough to earn a newer rank of belts.
When reflecting on their past experiences in phys ed, George and Anna can now articulate what they needed to succeed.
I wish they were treated me equally. There was kind of a class divide where the kids who weren't as good were mistreated, and the kids who got injured at all were openly mocked by both the teacher and the other kids. There's the whole divide and who was stronger and who wasn't, and I just wish that wasn't a thing.
I wish I could change a lot of things about gym class. For example, I wish it wasn't skill-based, and I wish it was less competitive, and I wish I could feel like the teacher cared.
And I wish people accepted me for who I was, and I wish they were educated or knew enough about autism and what it's like so that they wouldn't mistreat me or anything like that.
And they offer these final words of advice to educators who are trying to create a safer and more inclusive phys ed experience for all of their students.
I'd suggest if you're to hire a teacher, you should get a fully detailed explanation of how they'd treat the kids, what they'd do if someone would get hurt, what they'd do if a person wasn't moving fast enough, and how they would ensure that is a space where anyone can be equal.
I really liked baseball. I really liked hockey, but because it was encouraged to be competitive, all of a sudden, whenever these came up in class, I would dread it. So listen to kids. That's kind of all I ask. And choose activities that everyone can do.
Looking to make intramurals and school sports welcoming for every student? Play for All can help. This free resource from Ophea offers practical strategies for designing inclusive, fun activities that build confidence and foster a sense of belonging. The planning process in Play for All centers student voice with a collaborative leadership approach, and it adapts to your school's available resources. Check the link in our show notes to explore the full resource and see how you can make your intramurals more inclusive.
Okay, Anna and George. I'm curious if either of you ever spoke to the teachers where you kind of had a negative experience in health and phys ed. Did you ever give them feedback? And if so, what happened? I wonder, Anna, if you want to go first.
Sure. So, there was one day where I was really frustrated because no one was passing me the ball, and I was just standing there trying to participate, trying to just do something, and nothing was happening. And I went up to the teacher being like, no one's passing me the ball, nothing's happening, I don't know what to do here. I might as well just sit out at this point. And their reaction was to scream, hey everyone, pass to Anna please.
That sounds so tricky to navigate, and your attempt at trying to advocate for yourself didn't really pan out. George, I'm wondering if you ever sort of gave feedback to some of the teachers who weren't seeing you, and if so, how that panned out for you.
I had a similar experience like that where around the same time it happened to Anna, where essentially we were playing this like catch game, and it was similar to baseball, except it was a foam bat and a foam ball, and you had to throw it to each other, but they weren't passing it to me. I was like, why aren't you passing to me? I said this to another kid, and he was like, you have to be at the right place at the right time, George. And I literally remarked to him, this game sucks. And he's like, what? And I'm like, this game sucks. It's not fun.
Anna, I know when you described your experience in phys ed, you talked a lot about being the protector of George. Can you tell us a little bit about how that played out for you and how your teachers interpreted what you were doing?
I would check in on George during games to make sure that he was comfortable with them. I would sit with George when he was having a hard time with certain things and just really tried to help. And their response was to assume I was being disrespectful and separate us, or tell me to stop. And I quote, mama bearing him.
George, I wonder if you want to build on that at all.
He was very anti-twin. He'd intentionally separate us. And like one time I had like a panic attack during volleyball, and because we had to do this specific exercise where we like tossed the volleyballs like to each other as fast as we could. And then when I kept saying, I'm not ready, I'm scared. And then he told Anna to encourage me to be more involved, and that essentially treated me like I was being like cowardly, and that I was gonna fail the class because I was too scared to do things.
That sounds awful, and I'm so sorry that happened. And I'm wondering if there's anything you want to make sure that you share with our listeners.
I don't dislike physical activity. I've always not minded it, and when I remember in grade 7, I was thinking about joining the hockey team and the baseball team, and I wanted to try out for all these things, but each time I went to class, I just felt like there's no point. I'm not good enough, and every time I went to class, I'd be yelled at to pass the ball. I'd be yelled at to do anything that just was frustrating to me because I couldn't have the ball for 2 seconds without being screamed at.
So what you're trying to say, Anna, is that you don't inherently dislike being active, and in fact, you would have really liked to be. But no one ever created the conditions for you to feel safe or worthy even of participating. You were just kind of dismissed.
Exactly.
If we were to pick up on that then, what would have to be true in a phys ed class in high school, which I know you're going to have to take next semester or in your future trajectory in high school? You have to take at least one. What would have to be true of that phys ed class to make you be excited about taking it or want to take it?
Explanations that make sense. Having a space where you feel safe, so an environment where you're welcomed in and you're not frustrated every 20 seconds with something that's been said. I'd be interested in learning things like weightlifting and like how gyms work and stuff like that, and just things that are useful to me.
There was this thing that happened in a lot of physical activities that I don't want to happen, where people would say good job in a very exaggerated manner, specifically to me, as if I was doing something brave for the first time. Like, I did zip lining on a grad trip once, and my teacher was like, I'm so proud of him for being brave to do this. I'm gonna take a video of him, or like, during games of like soccer, baseball, they'd be like, "Good job, you did so much better than you did last time." And I was like, "Oh my god, why are you saying like that?" And I'm like, "Of course I did a good job. Why wouldn't I? Everyone does a pretty good job here."
So there was a sarcasm or an inauthenticity to this like sort of fake encouragement.
Yeah, it was like inauthenticity is like fake because like they thought they were being encouraging, but they were being rude and ableist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, in the school that you're in now that we shall not name, are phys ed classes gender segregated? Are they all genders? Do you have options or choices? I'm just curious. Do you know?
No, we do not have this choice. It's no matter what, just everything. I was looking when I had to choose my schedule. There's no choice. I don't really care though.
So, Anna, the reason I was asking that question is because in some high schools, part of how they're solutioning, or they have solution trying to make the environment more inclusive, is to separate boys and girls and to have gender segregated phys ed classes. But that has a whole host of other challenges for students who maybe don't feel like they belong in either of those categories. But so that's why I asked whether you had an all girls option.
My cousin, who's only 3 years older than me and goes to a different school, had that option, and I believe they did it 2 years, and they chose girls only.
Mm-hmm. And do you know if they had a good experience?
They also didn't really like gym in the first place.
Yeah, fair enough.
So they said it was fine.
Mm-hmm. So Anna and George, it's your first day of high school phys ed and you're walking into the class. What could that phys ed teacher do to show you or communicate to you that this is a space where you're going to be seen and heard?
If I walked in on my first day, I would want a sheet that asks, what sports are you interested in? What is something you look forward to this year? And for them to actually read it. I've heard things in gym class like they make you set a goal for yourself. Whether I've heard some people choosing to drink water every single day because they don't do that. Or I've heard some of it be to get some kind of exercise in every single day, or to jog more, or just different activities, and get you to do it throughout the semester.
So tailoring something to your interests and hearing what you share and whatever those goals look like, supporting you in achieving those. I like that, Anna. Thank you. George, what comes to mind for you?
I want a teacher that treats everyone equally, talks about accommodations first thing, and they're like, I think they should be like, this should be a safe space for everyone. It should be included for all genders, and you should not judge people on how skilled they are or how athletic they are.
What do you think people should be judged on?
Their willingness to collaborate with others, and the amount of inclusivity, as well as like doing things as long as someone else is comfortable with it, because so many kids at my middle school didn't value the comfort or consent of others.
I like those values, George. Anna, are there other values that come to mind for you? What would you like to be judged on?
I want them to let you take it at your own speed. I would like to be judged on how much you're actively participating and how much you're actually trying. I've seen people who don't try at all, but are good at sports naturally, so are given amazing grades. And then people who try really hard, but aren't good at sports and get not so good grades. I'd like to be talked to about expectations instead of it being a guessing game.
Anna and George, thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty and your time today. We really appreciate everything that you've shared with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. I really appreciate being able to be honest about the experiences I had, as well as the truth about how people behave, because I believe that not enough people have changed in their cultural insensitivity and inclusion.
This episode was hosted by me, Tammy Shubat, and was produced by Mike Meehan. Our theme song and music was written and performed by Ron Kelly. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. Your support helps us grow and reach more educators, students, and changemakers. Until next time, let's keep moving, questioning, and creating space for every student to thrive.